So I never throw anything away apart from the meaty bits that will go off. But the bones, I use all the bones. I'll use the feet, I'll dry them. They're good, they are quite good ones.
I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want...
EatonNott is actually a workshop with a shop front. So I'm an artist and John is a collector. And we've turned our hobby really into our profession. We're sort of scavengers and we recycle things we find. I turn them into art and John renovates things and mounts things like you'd find in a museum. So it's a sort of, I don't know, yeah, it's a workshop really more than a shop. I don't think I didn't get into it, neither of us did really, it's something we've always done. And that was the interesting thing. I was brought up in the countryside, so I was surrounded by natural things all the time and I've always done it. You know, I'd find something and keep it and see what happened to it, or I'd find a dead animal and bury it and go back and dig up the bones and make something out of it. And John, even though he wasn't brought up in the countryside, he had a similar sort of, childhood. I always felt really uncomfortable talking about this side of myself because people thought I was a weirdo. And when I met John, it was the first time that I ever met anyone who didn't make me feel like an alien. We had exactly the same vision, if you like. So it was quite a thing meeting John for me. I mean, now, as I say, it's become so fashionable that taboo's gone. But when we first started doing it was still quite taboo, and people did think we were a little bit not quite right in the head. And I remember when we opened the shop up, we were worried that we'd get, trouble. We got a lot of hate mail and stuff. We did get that. But then John used to keep a baseball bat here, just in case, but it never happened. The oddest person I've ever worked on, it's hard because what I think is odd is not the same as everybody else, or I don't think anything's odd really. I suppose the strangest, or most unusual maybe, was the tip of somebody's finger who came in to get it pickled. And it was a little boy, the mum brought the finger in. So that was quite unusual. I don't get that very often, because I think everything else is, it might be unusual to normal people, but to us it's nothing really makes us flinch at all, Well, the roadkill couture came after I did a show called Trashin', and Trashin' was a collection of garments shown in a particular way, but they were all normal materials and household objects that I made into couture. And I was being interviewed by a journalist after Trashin', and she said, "What's your next project?" And I had an epiphany, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I heard the name Roadkill Couture. And the idea was that trying to bring awareness about how we treat our animals and the waste our society creates, and just the fact that we're so desensitised to everything. And all the materials were either roadkill, they'd been eaten, they had been culled by gamekeepers, or they just died of natural causes. So when Brighton Fashion Week put on Facebook who was going to be showing this year, and they said that I was going to come back again with roadkill couture, there was absolute hysteria on Facebook, to the point that Brighton Fashion Week actually asked me to intervene and explain myself to all these people, that I should be skinned alive and how disgusting it was, and that the same should be done to me that I'm doing to those poor animals, and totally missing the point. And I joined in all these conversations in the streams, and I just argued, explained what it really was about, till every single one of them started liking all my comments and dropped out of the conversation till they got it, I think maybe my concept of beauty is a little bit different to other people's, because I can see beauty in things that maybe are a little bit more unusual. I think, do you know what I think it is? I think it's a lot of people are really frightened. They're frightened of death. So, I don't know, I mean, for instance, I'm looking at that little fetus there, and it's the most gorgeous little thing, beautiful little thing. I think that's really beautiful. That little skeleton in the bottom of that cabinet there, that's a little lamb, and it died in the field, right? The farmer gave it to us. I skinned it and I made a top out of the fur, and then Johnny put the skeleton back together again. We get people getting really upset about that. Oh, poor little lamb. So, what are we having for lunch? Roast lamb, have a lovely roast lamb. And you cut it, and you know, you get adverts on telly now. I'm really aware of this. You get adverts on telly and they're cutting the meat and there's blood coming out. It's all juicy and gorgeous, and people go, ooh, yum. Show them a little skeleton and they get upset. How hypocritical is that? You know? It's like, if you're going to eat meat, that's fine, but be aware of what you're doing.
I'm just curious, do you eat meat?
I didn't for 17 years. I do now. I'm back. But I didn't for a long time. So I've lived on both sides of the fence, and I've thought about this obviously for a lot in my life. Whether I'm being brought up in the countryside, we had chickens and goats, horses. We didn't have a farm, but we lived off the land. And my mum would say to me, "I need a chicken." I'd go out and kill a chicken, get an axe, whack its head off, pluck it, gut it, bring it home, bring it inside, and we'd eat it. So I had very hands-on, very honest, real, relationship to the food chain when I was growing up. And when I hit 17, I thought, well, we're civilized beings, we can live without meat. So I got got in with some animal liberation people, and thought, well, that's it. I'm not going to do it anymore. I loved meat, and I am a carny actually, but I thought, no, our intellect makes us superior. We don't need it. We can survive without taking a life. And I stuck to it for 17 years, and I realised I hadn't actually thought about it, and I had changed as a person, and I now feel how I did when I was little. I've gone back to the true essence of who I am, and I feel very connected with the universe, very connected with nature, and part of, if I'm going to eat meat, then the animal has to be honoured. You have to use as much of it as you possibly can. If an animal's going to lay down its life, then it can't be taken lightly. It is something. Life is precious. So it's people who take things for granted that and who are blinkered and desensitized. It drives me mad. I think our society is really sick and in trouble. Really do. The fact that people are they put so much energy into avoiding the truth, the ugly truth. Don't want to see it. They don't want to see it. People get angry sometimes about what I'm doing. It's because I'm making them confront the truth, People don't like it. They don't like it. It's really interesting. Annoying, but interesting. Can you smell the bird now?